Good morning. It's been a while since I showed. It's been, what, 2 weeks since my last Satisfactory stream, but I saw some fun videos from some other people, and I've been working away steadily on my own, so I thought I'd jump back in here. Where were we? When we last left, as you recall, our primary base is down here, and we ran a train up around these oil islands around and formed a second base. And I believe when I last left the last video, there was basically nothing there except a pile of concrete to start the base. Things have come along since then, such that I needed more power. I started out with about 3,000 power, and I'm currently running with the primary base shut down and only the secondary base running. I was hitting around 2,500, and sometimes it would spike and hit that 3,000. So, and I'm only like halfway done, so I know I needed more. So I came back to the oil archipelago, which is where I am now, and I set up another oil processing facility. And I did it a little bit more efficiently here. Right now, we've got one oil well running to 13 gas generators. I can always put in shards and increase that by even more, but for now that's giving me like 1,800 megawatts of power, which would keep me running for a while. The other thing I did is the base needed crystal. And unfortunately, the only crystal near this base is at the bottom of a winding tunnel, and I didn't want to have to deal with that. So I found another crystal source over here, and I really didn't want to do conveyor belts this long. I'll probably go back and change this to a train track eventually. But for now, it, along with the oil, runs to this train station. And let's see. The train's not coming anytime soon, so we'll deploy our own, but I'll show you what else is going on here. So I'll put down my own train. So this is the oil archipelago. Back that way is the first base. But this one, the train comes down here, turns around, stops here, picks up oil and crystal. I can do this without getting sidetracked. Yeah, okay. It comes back this way. Really great vistas now. Back this way. One thing I discovered is that if a train is stopped at a station, you prevent other trains from stopping at that station, which is why I don't keep a commuter train running. I just deploy it when I need it, so I don't mess up the automated trains. Anyway, the automated train comes this way, it stops here. There's a big bauxite mine up there. Comes down here, fills up our bauxite at Aluminum Gulch. Then it comes back over here, down to that. We already start to see some buildings. Here is the train. It is obviously slowing down because I'm trying to land at the stop at the station. And I'll stop here so that I don't mess it up. And you can see it unloading. So it's got two compartments of oil, one of crystal, one of bauxite. It stops in the station. I think I was too close. It didn't didn't unload them. So I've messed that up a little bit. But it's not a huge concern because, or maybe it did fill these up because they're pretty full. Maybe the animation just failed. Okay. Now I'm gonna have to save and reload because there's a slight bug in this building game where sometimes when you get out of the train can't build anything. They've put out a couple of patches recently, mostly for the better. There's a lot of nice organizational things they put in. Trains are a lot more stable than they used to be, but unfortunately, I'm running into a few interface bugs. They haven't fixed this get off the train bug, and okay, now it's working. And I'll show you when we get to some other things that I'm running into some graphical bugs, but it's no big deal. The main thing is the base is working. So, to give you the big picture view, all out here I've got steel bar, iron bar, no, I'm sorry, steel bar, copper bar, iron bar, concrete production buildings. They all run over here and then run to individual buildings to be processed into all the different things, iron rods, iron plates, wire, all that. And then all that continues running this way. And I put everything in buildings because it seems to help with the frame rates if you can't see the conveyor belts. Obviously, I still have a lot of conveyor belts, but there's a lot fewer animated moving machines. So all this comes this way. And all the products run into these cargo containers. And then it comes back out of the cargo containers and runs to the more detailed products. So the nice thing about that is that because everything is running into a cargo container, and I've designed it so that the production of each component is slightly more than the required amount of each component for the next sized product, it means that these are always filling up. If I run a little low on these, I can take a couple out and it'll fill itself up relatively quickly. The other thing I did is I spent a bunch of time expanding the map, exploring. I found a lot of hard drives. I think I've only got one alternate recipe left, and it's for something that I'm probably never going to use, like copper ore plus iron ore equals copper bar, which I'm sure there's a use for that, but it's not something I really need. So I've done the math. Let me switch over to this. One moment. So this is the Satisfactory calculator. It's a nice little tool. I basically told it I want to have one of everything being produced in addition to the components, and 2 turbo motors being produced at all times. And it gave me a list of, I also told it all the alternate recipes I had. I turned some of these off because it's just a pain. There is an alternate cable recipe? I don't think I have that. And so I've got this big list of things I need, and I juggled it until things that you need a lot of, like quick wire and regular wire and screws, are all less than the maximum 780 of the belt. So it's not the most perfect production, but the nice thing here is that everything works with these speed belts I've got. And if I decide I want to increase production at a later point, let's say I want to make even more turbo motors for something, I could, when the next upgrade comes through and belt speed increases, I can just sort of upgrade the belts and increase the production of everything either by overclocking or adding another layer to each floor, another floor to each building, and sort of boost from there. So what I've got so far here, we'll switch back to game view. Let me make sure that it's. Let me make sure that I didn't goof that up by switching. Okay, the full view is being shown. That's good. Not quite sure why I've got some like black bars on the side, but it'll do for now. So, I've got wire, copper production, I've got all the plates, aluminum, heavy industrial beams, steel beams, regular plates, reinforced plates, rods, screws, concrete. There are some, now that I have so many belts running, there is the occasional lag spike in frames. Concrete, crystals, the crystal oscillators, steel pipes, gas, plastic, rubber, modular frames, heavy modular frames, circuit boards, and computers. So I'm almost back to the point I was with my other base, just a lot more organized. So like over here, I also have motors being produced, gunpowder, quick wire, and I've also set up production for nobelisks and cartridges, so I won't have to build stuff to resupply for an expedition. So basically, I've got all this various stuff going, all these conveyor belts going all over the place. And the nice thing here is that if I want to, say, split off the quick wire, I can just add a splitter anywhere and I know it'll work because the belts can output at a faster rate than the maximum production of the entire facility by design. So that means that I can basically build whatever I want, wherever I want. The thing I'm thinking I'll do real quickly here is I set up a certain amount of circuit board production. I needed something like, what was it? I needed 66 circuit boards per minute. Whoops. And I did that, but then that was getting close on power. So I completely shut off the top floor. I think one of the things that's draining so much power is the current plan requires just a simply massive amount of rubber. I need 371 rubber per minute. So to get all that, I've got this massive building, and I do want to build foundations under these one day. I just haven't at the moment because it would take a lot of concrete, and I'm more interested in other things so far. But in order to produce all that rubber, you've got this simply massive setup. Like one of these is fuel, 3 of these is plastic, and the rest is rubber. And right now because I produced all the rubber I'll need, but I'm not using all the rubber I need, they're only at like 26% capacity. But once I build everything else, that won't be the case. But what I was going to say was, I believe it's out here. I get a little turned around. I think it's this large one here. I'm eventually going to label these buildings somehow. I'm thinking maybe using the paint gun. I use a bunch of rubber for circuit boards, but I didn't have... Is this the circuit boards? It is. So this is a 2-story building, but I was worried that I wasn't going to have enough power or rubber set up for this. So I built the second floor, but I cut power to it. So I'm only at half production for my circuit boards. But now that I have the full rubber and I have the full power, we'll get the second floor hooked back up. And now I'm nowhere near capacity on circuit boards either, so these probably won't. Alright, so this is the start. This is the graphical stuff I was complaining about. There's some stuff that on the top here that's being cut off, I believe. But I've got a capacity of 5,250, and I'm hitting roughly half that right now. So I've got some room to expand. The real graphical issue is things like this. It seems like the font got changed or something. The information is just slightly larger than the window is in. It's not the end of the world, but it's frustrating. You want it to look perfect, and it did for a while. Just a little minor glitch at the moment. Eventually we'll get there. Where I was going to go with this was the next thing I'll need to do is build some. I'm thinking heat sinks because I've got all that aluminum plate production, but that's not going into anything right now. So I know eventually I'll need a lot of heat sinks, so I might as well get production going on those. Because I believe the heat sinks, the alternate recipe is regular wire and aluminum. Now, what I did for that is I started this building here. If we come in at the bottom, this is where all the copper ingots comes in. And I'll just show you this one building. They're all similar to this in layout. It comes in and it comes in on that second floor and it splits up into up and down. This whole floor is just dedicated to cable. So everything ingots get turned into wire, and all this wire gets turned into cable, and that goes off to the base. If I then go to the upper floors, I haven't bothered with staircases or anything because I've got the jetpack. If I go to this upper floor, this is all wire production. And I've got a bunch of room here. And I've got this. You know what? I think this is all. I'm getting mixed up. This is also cable. That's why there's extra room here if I need more cable. And then these two floors. This floor is all wire production, 4-wire. And I've got a whole second floor here that I didn't even build yet. So I might. If I've done the math right, I'll have just enough. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I count that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 18 for 2 floors times 45 wire per thing. 18 times 45 is 810. Minus 45 is 765. So the maximum speed of the belt is 760, right? 780. So yeah, I need 18 buildings, but the last one, the production will be turned down just a little. So at the moment, I was in the original plans, I would actually need 4 floors of copper wire, but I got some more alternate recipes, switched some of that to quick wire, switched some of that to screws, juggled it around. So yeah, I only need 1 more floor of wire. So I can basically copy that floor down there. So what I want is a splitter. Why aren't you liking that? That didn't work. It's possible that it this is right in the center, right? Yeah. It's possible that I just didn't quite have it lined up properly. So let's do it right there. Alright. So now we need 9 smelters. And I've got room for a couple more if I need them. But this should do for now. So then I just simply need a bunch of splitters. keys to connect the splitters and level 1s for each individual machine. There's not a super important reason to do this, and I have enough aluminum production that I could, in theory, use it for everything. But my thinking is that I think that'll see this one by necessity is a little crooked, so I think it should fit. Okay, so what was I saying? Will you fit there? You won't. Might have to shift those a little bit. Let's see here. If I put this here, just have to face it the right way. Put a splitter. The nice thing, I don't remember if I mentioned this on previous streams, but the nice thing about you can set splitters on top of things that are already existing. And the nice thing with that is that the clearance on that is a lot nicer than the clearance is a lot more flexible than it normally would be. See, like these two are practically touching, which is more than you can usually do. Okay, so that won't fit. That's a shame. I put these a little off center. That's okay. Easy enough to fix. So, smelter. Take 2. I wanted it lined up with the plate. Okay. 1, 2, 3. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That should be enough. Okay, so now we want splitters. That one's not going to fit naturally. This last one we don't actually need a splitter on, but we'll leave one in there for future expansion purposes, should we need it. You said these two were lined up, but they're clearly not. Still fits. Alright, now before I forget, let's come over here and make sure these are all set to wire. Oh! Jeez Louise, that's why this is not fitting the way it's supposed to. I didn't set up constructors, I set up smelters. Goodness. Lose my head if it wasn't attached. So, fix this by dismantling everything because the constructors are wider than the smelters. Couldn't figure out why they weren't spacing the way I was expecting them to. Oof. Jeez Louise. My brain. Now, dividing the splitters up this way is technically suboptimal because it's going to divide them evenly such that the ones on the end will get ingots at 1/3 of the rate that, like, more centralized ones will. But if it's saturated, it won't matter, right? So this time, we'll do this right. We want constructors. And we want it roughly centered, like so. Is that good enough on this side? Yeah, plenty of room. Except, oh boy, I'm making all sorts of mistakes still on camera, I guess. Put them backwards. Orange side towards us. Whew. Like so. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5. 6, 7, 8. Okay, now it only 9 on the floor. Now it all makes sense. Okay. Make sure these are all set to wire, which is what I should have done in the first place. Even though I have all the alternate recipes, I'll probably still go and gather some more hard drive, just because the next expansion could very probably unlock more alternate recipes. Kind of wish I was filming it, but I didn't. The other thing that I did while I was working is, if you go back this way, if you look, I've got a very long track leading straight up to the top of the mountain here. And that's because up there's a uranium node. So my eventual plan here is, once I'm producing the components needed for nuclear power, I'll load them up in this station here. The train will deliver them up to the nuclear node, and all the production will be automated up there, because the radioactive node is radioactive, and you have to wear a suit with disposable filters to even use it. The irritating thing with that was that I discovered it before I built a suit, and I discovered that carrying even 1 or 2 units of uranium ore in your inventory will kill you in seconds. So when I got the alternate recipes for some nuclear parts, and I needed 200 nuclear ore in my base, I had to very quickly build a suit and chop some up and run it all the way back down here before my filters expired. Anyway, so these are all set to wire now. Right, so now we just need to set up the splitters. 1. That's lined up like that, right? It's not. Holy moly, too many lines up here. Okay. Now I probably should pull those constructors back just the same. Just so I have a little bit more room on the other side, but let's see if we can make this work. Yeah, I might not have left enough room here. Let's see if we can make this work. So I'm going to put a splitter here. This one can go here. I always put up the walls first, because sometimes you can build, sometimes you'll build something and you'll discover that it's blocking the wall from coming in. Right? Like, you can build this and it's sticking through the wall, but if you build this like this and then try to build the wall, it would fail. So we'll set these up. Build the rest of the walls. getting the basic production going first before I finish all this building was mostly so that I could make sure that I had construction materials on hand. All these thousands of walls uses a lot of plate and concrete, so I had to make sure I always had enough of those to do everything. So what's the closest I can build this splitter? Still have it work. Like there. So can I get this into here? No. But maybe what I need to do instead is play a little trickery. So you can get very finicky with these belts if you want to. So what I can do is build this like this, set up this splitter here, a merger here. Okay, and then if I set up a belt from here to here, will you let me? Then if I set up a merger here, oh, I'm so close. Alright, you have to move a little bit closer. That's just the way it is. Still won't work. Will this work? Yes. Normally my constructions are a lot cleaner than this, but I'm rushing a little bit to get it all on stream. So that should connect there. Now will this work on this side? Do that? Well, okay, great. So wire. I reconstructed these two in the middle, so I've got to redo the wire. Okay. So now we're back to splitter business. Why are these not fitting? This is very frustrating. They're telling me the lines are lining up, but they're not. But, I mean, it still works, so I guess I can't complain. Okay, they're all hooked up on this side. So let's get power going, and then we'll hook it up on the other side. I believe I've reserved one power pole right here. Still has a connection, yes. So you're being a bit finicky today. I have to deconstruct that floor for this to work. So 2 more power poles should do it. I would actually be short 1 power pole if I needed to go up another floor, but I think this is going to do for a while. So as you can see, because the ore has not yet backed up, am I missing 1 belt? I am. That's my soul side. Okay. There we go. So as you can see, it takes a little longer to get to the last one. It's at a slower rate compared to the others, but because I'm producing more bars than I need, this should eventually fill up. Okay, so now I just need to set up the outputs with mergers. And on this side, just because it's wire and there's a lot of it, and I don't want to worry about the math, I'll use up 5 belts for this stuff. It would be really irritating if there was a minor traffic jam here that prevented the whole wire connection from going. Okay, so if I've done that correctly, everything should be hooked up to this, right? It's all going into here. And wire is at a standstill because we're making way more than we need. So these will eventually fill up, and that means their inputs will fill up, and so when they need wire, they'll all be at 100 and 100, so there will be no delay. So this is at 83, 84, it's gradually filling. This is gradually filling. So all that's needed is to complete the building. The one other minor thing is that these foundations, these single meter tall foundations, refuse to stay in the hotbar. After you save and load, they're gone. Very strange. I think it's because it's just recently added. It may not be, it might be some little bug in the implementation of it. And like I said, I'm just capping these off so that when I'm running around the base, I'm not seeing the internals, and hopefully just my frame rate a little better. While I'm doing this, I wanted to give like I said in the intro, I saw someone on YouTube playing this game and it made me want to make more videos. He's got a much better personality than I do. I am all about just building simple structures that work. This guy, and I want to make sure I get his name right. Hold on. I'll also put a link in the description. Is all about. He does some great work explaining the basic concepts of the game to you, but he also is very funny because he likes to build the least plausible structures possible. He likes to make it as convoluted as possible. And his YouTube channel is Let's Game It Out. He's done about 7 Satisfactory videos, and they really make me laugh. So if you want to see someone weave a carpet out of conveyor belts, so that it takes 3 hours to reach the factory from one end to the other, you can do that on his channel. I'll put a link, and it just makes me laugh. So if you're starving for Satisfactory videos, you can always check him out. But as I build this factory, I'll try and do some more regular updates. So that's all built. We can ride our conveyor. Whoa, boy, these go fast. Whoa! Okay, so our conveyor is running. We've got huge amounts of copper going, so this should always be sitting at just maximum filled. I don't need these copper bars that I picked up while I was dismantling belts. So yeah, I think that's where we're going to leave it off this time. Let's see what that did to our power usage. We went... Okay, so we increased the amount of production of circuit boards, but I believe it's already filled its container, so it didn't actually produce anymore. It's just going to turn all the machines on and off more often. So that didn't really increase our power usage any. If anything, as some of these containers filled up and machines slowed down, our power usage actually went down a little. But now we've got computers up. I'm thinking heat sinks next, and then things like that then you've got things like the AI limiters and radio control units, supercomputers, and then turbo engines, which I've always built by hand at this point because there were just too many things I didn't have built in my last base. But that's where we're going to leave things. I'm trying to build everything up at these high points so I can run around without getting tangled in belts. That's making these upper levels a little bit of a spaghetti nest, but it works for now. So until next time, I'll see you. Take care.